How's it going, everyone? Hunter with Rebel Outdoors, and today we're going to be talking about 5 things that I like and dislike about the Skinny Guy Camper Basecap. So I've had this unit for a few months now. I primarily got it because I needed something to go on my Nebraska mule deer hunt with Joey from Put Outdoors. And we took that out for 2 weeks, tested it, had fun with it, and I've also taken it out camping. So with that, I've compiled this list of 5 things I like and don't like about the Basecap. So let's get into it. And one thing that I really like about it is, unlike a lot of the other, I'll call it the topper habitats, such as like an AT, Go Fast camper, things like that, you don't have to like jump into the bed of the truck, kind of crawl underneath, and then get up into your sleeping space. They maintain the ladder that is on the side of the original Skinny Guy campers, so that way you can still kind of climb up the ladder, hop into the bed of the truck, and then get into your sleeping space. Next up is the mattress. I really like the mattress that the Skinny Guy campers come with. For like a rooftop tent style mattress, that's the best that I've personally experienced. Granted, is it as best as a bed at home? Absolutely not, but for what it is, it's pretty nice. And with this Basecap, you do still maintain the easeability to take it on and off the truck. So let's say if you were using, or if you needed the bed of your truck to haul like some lumber or bigger items like stones, whatever, you could still take this unit off the vehicle pretty relatively easy, even if you didn't use a traditional jack stand system. It is pretty lightweight, so that way, let's say like you and a buddy or you and a couple of guys could easily take it on and off the truck. Next up would be the little hammocks. So the hammocks, they, I believe, primarily designed so that way when the camper was closed, the mattress wouldn't droop so much, so it would kind of give you some more storage. The nice thing is that these hammocks are actually functional. So for example, what we did in Nebraska was we didn't use the one side where you would get up into the ladder. We left that open, but we did utilize the other side for like clothes bags, other kinds of gear, places to store like the pillows once the camper was folded up and we were moving to new spots. So that does add a little bit of extra storage or functionality to it, which I think is pretty nice. And lastly, the airflow or breathability. Now, if you have the door open, the windows open, like your tailgate and the hatch open, like that thing can cool off pretty quick. If it had been raining for a while and some things have gotten wet or whatever, or if it was, you just really wanted some airflow, you could get a ton of that with this system with just how open it is. So now we're going to move on to things that I didn't quite like about this unit. And there are going to be kind of double dipping a little bit, but I'll explain why. Earlier I mentioned about the hammocks that were in there. I like them for the functionality of the gear storage, but I think for them preventing the mattress from sagging, they don't do the greatest of job. They do help, but I feel like there could have been a little bit better of a system, whether it be like a separate net that you kind of like attach on the mattress before you close it up to like completely keep it up. But I feel like you kind of lose out on a decent bit of bed storage kind of with these hammocks just because of how low that they droop. Another thing that I kept having issues with was the latches. Now, I know the latch on like the main door, if you've seen like Skinny Guy campers before or my other video on the Skinny Guy camper Basecap, those doors, when you open the campers up, I've never had good luck with. I don't know what it is. I've had problems with the latches not like latching, and then I've also had the majority of the problems have been where like the latch will pop up, but I can't get the thing out, or the latch just won't pop up at all. So you kind of have to like bang on it and wrestle with it just to get it off. That was also with the latches of like the doors and things like that. So one cool thing about like the main Skinny Guy camper is it has like a little gutter system that you can use to collect rainwater. On like the nicer version that I originally had, that was a really cool system. But in the Basecap, it caused some problems. So there is two little screws that you undo to allow water to flow out. Like for example, if you don't have like any kind of rainwater collection system. But we did camp in Nebraska in a pretty heavy rainstorm, and it did cause some leakage into the tent. Not to the point of where like the mattress was soaked and it was keeping us up all night, but I had like some shirts or something kind of right where the little Velcro seam is, and it was causing some kind of leakage. Plus there was just, even with that gutter system, there was still a lot of buildup of water, and I feel like that could be something that could definitely cause some future issues. Now the Basecap kind of acts like a Go Fast Campers in the fact that it has like a tent sleeping area as well as like a topper style function. But one thing I didn't really quite like was the fact that it was not watertight whatsoever. So I was getting a bunch of water kind of in through, whether it didn't have like any seals or anything on the bottom to where like once it was kind of clamped down on your bed, they would kind of smush, and not allow water to get in. So I was dealing with that constantly, and I had just recently installed a power system. I had to put that in a Plano bin so that way like things weren't exposed to some of the water and stuff that I had mentioned before during the rainstorm when we were getting all kinds of crazy rain and winds. So there were definitely some things that got wet in the bed due to that. I would have liked to see some kind of better sealing technology. Also on the back hatch of the camper, there's like no kind of seals whatsoever, so it's just metal to metal contact. And we all know how well not having seals go on harsh weather and rain and snow and all that kind of fun stuff. I don't have it anymore, so I can't test it through like the winter and the snow and everything, but obviously that's going to cause some kind of problem further on the road. So on the original Skinny Guy camper, next to the door there was a small window. Now I couldn't really figure out why there was this little window. Maybe if you wanted to peek out, without having to undo the whole door or something, or a little bit of airflow, what have you, for the original Skinny Guy camper that I had. But when I got the Basecap, they told me that it was a diesel heater port, so I'm like, okay, that makes sense. This one doesn't have heat like the other ones do. But with that, kind of going back to the rainstorm thing, it only has like two zippers on the sides. There's nothing like, there's like a very, very weak magnet on the very bottom that holds it together. But any kind of wind, we were having all kinds of rain get whipped up into that little hole. And of course, if it's a rainy or a windy cold night and you kind of button everything up, you can't really close that, because no matter what, you're having a decent, I want to say like a 6 to 8 inch hole, that is constantly allowing air to flow into. So I would have liked to see some type of other system, but again, I understand the diesel heater port thing, if you were constantly using that, but in like warmer weather like when we were in, or during harsh weather, it doesn't really do the greatest of job. It leaves kind of a big little gap there. So on the other Skinny Guy camper, you have the bed, you had like a little bench, and then you had the floor, which was only maybe 8 inches down. So for example, on our big Wyoming trip that we took, we had my daughter Ivory, who was about to turn 1 as soon as we got back from that trip. So she was fairly young, and she was staying up in the camper with us. And had she have gotten up in the middle of the night, we didn't notice, and she would have like crawled away or whatever, she would have had like a little bit of a fall, but not really much of a fall whatsoever. And same thing when I take my dogs camping, like they could get up, climb down on the floor there, but it wouldn't really cause much of an issue. Now with the Basecap, there's nothing. There's just a sheer drop to the actual bed of the truck. So in an instance like where you guys have seen my truck is a Ram heavy duty, so that's a decent little drop there. So It was not something that I wanted to ever bring my daughter camping with me, in fear that something like that would happen. And even like my dogs, if my dog, you know, got up to like adjust himself in the middle of the night and slipped, I mean, that's a pretty good fall. So it would be kind of nice to see something to where you could either seal off like the rest of the bed and your gear and all that kind of stuff, or like some kind of a cargo netting to prevent, you know, like dogs and little ones from being able to go off the edge. Now for adults and stuff, obviously it's not really going to have that issue, but that was definitely one thing that I didn't enjoy, and it sucked because obviously I didn't want to take my daughter or any of my dogs camping with me. Not to say that I didn't like the unit, but it wasn't for me. I don't have the unit anymore. I did end up bringing that back to them, but I was appreciative that I was able to kind of test that out, make some content for you guys, and just kind of try some new things. You know, I've seen Go Fast campers and different brands like that before, but never really kind of experienced anything like that. So it was very nice to get to try something like that and figure out that I don't like it versus, you know, had I wanted to spend the money in one of these systems, and kind of figure it out for myself. But hopefully you guys learned something. Hopefully you guys can take away something from this video. If you are interested in any of these, you know, style campers, or for example the Basecap, I know will be releasing next springtime, so spring of 2024. So I want to say the price was about 11 grand for those, if I remember correctly when I was talking to the owner. But I'm sure they'll go ahead and release things like that in the future when they actually do fully release this item. Go ahead, like the video, subscribe for more outdoor content. I do all kinds of outdoor activities, firearms related, hunting, overlanding, survival, stuff like that. Hit the little bell notification so you get notified when I post videos every week. I'm going to start doing them on Sundays now. I'm going to start doing them on Sundays now instead of Fridays. And with that, we will catch you guys in the next one.